What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about love and monsters. So I'm very happy to have a first-time guest here on the channel. It's always awesome to start a new relationship here on the channel of doing collabs with somebody new, and this time around it's my buddy Movieman. You guys can find the link to his channel down below in the description box, but a big thanks to him for joining me here in this video, and yeah, we're gonna hear from him in just a little bit. But for now, let's get into my thoughts on this movie. This movie I remember seeing the trailers for in theaters, and it was supposed to get a big theatrical release, but ended up getting more of a limited release, and I know it didn't really do incredible in the theaters. And it's one of those movies that just kind of came and went, and I think because of the pandemic it kind of got delayed, and then its release cycle wasn't exactly what they probably were expecting to do. But when I saw the trailer I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool, and then I just feel like the movie disappeared for a while, and then I heard that it had come out and I just never got around to it. That's when I ended up hanging out with my dad actually not too long ago, and he was pretty adamant that I check the movie out. He asked me if I've seen the movie and said that it'd be his third time watching it and highly suggested it. So we threw it on. And so my dad is probably watching this, and Dad, yeah, you made this video possible. And what I'll say right out of the gate is I had a lot of fun with this. I thought this movie was actually a really good time, and I'm kind of glad my dad put me onto it, and I'm glad that I was able to put Movieman onto this movie. So this film stars people like Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, Michael Rooker, and many others, and takes us into a post-apocalyptic world where all the creatures of the world have become big mutated versions of themselves, whether it's a frog, a bug, a fish, whatever the case may be. And because of that, people don't live on the surface anymore. You know, people have kind of all recluded to different bunkers and different places that they can all kind of be in their human little bases, and they're kind of held off like that. So a lot of people don't really have the ability to see each other. A lot of people have died, been killed by these creatures, and yeah, the world is, you know, in a post-apocalyptic state. That's when we meet the character played by Dylan O'Brien named Joel, who's been living here in this bunker with a group of individuals, but is pretty well known within this bunker to kind of be the one who you don't really rely on when it comes to dangerous situations. He's really well known for freezing in dangerous situations. Anytime a creature appears, he gets so scared that he doesn't even move. And that's a big part about this movie that I really enjoy, because it's not really about the destination for Joel, really. At the end of the day, it's about the journey and what he learns throughout the course of the film. And not too long into the film, we start to get some flashbacks that we learn that him and Jessica Henwick's character were in a romantic relationship. But once all this happened, they ended up getting separated and they could not reach each other anymore. And then eventually he ended up finding out that she was part of a different colony of humans that really, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't too far away from each other. So he decides to just grab onto his balls and go on this big trip to try to get to the love of his life after all this time. And over the course of time, he meets some humans that are surviving out there that teach him various things, and he eventually makes his way to try to find this woman he loves. And what I really enjoy about that, like I mentioned earlier, was that it's more about the journey. And at the end of the day, this movie really is about letting go of your fears, and how the reality of the situation is in life there are so many things that we may be fearful of that completely get us stuck in one place in our life, and it gets you stuck right in front of those fears, and you never leave your comfort, you never leave the safe place. And I love kind of that message. I thought that was really well handled in a really goofy, fun movie. And I say goofy because this movie reminded me a lot of Zombieland. You have a post-apocalyptic world where in this case it's not zombies, it's big, like, you know, mutated creatures, but over the course of time our main character meets different people who kind of give him some advice and these different things that he's able to apply in these moments that are applicable with whatever he's been learning, whatever tips and tricks that he's been learning from the various people that he meets over the course of time. And beyond that, he just kind of learns a lot about himself, the journey, and life, and really wants to start going out there and living his life after being so fearful for so long. And I think that Dylan O'Brien did a great job of playing this character. I really thoroughly enjoyed him as the character of Joel. He was likable, he was goofy, but he also had that cool presence that Dylan O'Brien brings to his roles. And overall, I found this to be a really good time, and it's something that I actually highly recommend. Now, before I wrap up my thoughts on this, let's go ahead and jump on over to what Movieman had to say about this, and we'll get back to wrapping up my thoughts.
Hey everyone, this is Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today I'm coming to you all with my first review collaboration. Shout out to Anthony A. Perez, who I recently discovered on my feed, and I am very, very excited to be collaborating with you on this review. So today, I'm coming to you all with a review for Love and Monsters, directed by Michael Matthews and starring Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, and Michael Rooker. So I am going to start with the pros. This one totally took me by surprise. As I mentioned earlier, this film is directed by Michael Matthews. He's a South African writer, producer, and director. This is his second feature-length film following Five Fingers for Marseille, a neo-Western thriller he directed in 2017. And this was quite the departure from that film, but I really enjoyed the vision and the concept behind this one. The post-apocalyptic genre is a very popular one. And by popular, I mean there are a lot of films and narratives that are centered around that concept. And Love and Monsters is no different. From the outside looking in, it seems like just another post-apocalyptic film. There is an element of predictability to it, and a lot of the story beats here will feel very familiar. Many of you will know Dylan O'Brien from the series Teen Wolf, or if you're like me, then you're familiar with him because of the Maze Runner trilogy, which I really enjoyed. And I think his performance as Joel is ultimately what makes the film work and brings it all together. And I think what adds to that is how the film delves into his emotional trauma, and that being a very central part of the story and what drives him as we continue on. And that's another thing I appreciated. I liked that this film took the whole post-apocalyptic concept and theme, and they then connected it with this very comedic and humorous overtone, which really worked. And it wasn't super over the top or wasn't a bunch of slapstick, because that is not for me at all. I think that piece of it brought to mind films like Warm Bodies and Zombieland. I'm sure many of you will think of those films when you're watching this. And I think if you enjoyed either one of those films, then this would be a great accompaniment to both of those. But I think it did a great job having that element and then balancing that out with these deeper, emotional, more resonant touches. There is a really great scene here, probably my favorite scene of the entire film, and that is when Joel meets a character named Mavis. And I thought that entire scene was so touching and so poignant, yet comedic, but then also sad and tragic at the same time. I know that's a lot to wrap up into one scene. That sounds like a lot, but I felt like that was so well handled, and the scene really resonated with me in a way that I did not expect. Lastly, I love the design of the monsters here. I thought that was one of the more interesting aspects of the story for obvious reasons. And I loved how they took these everyday animals and they took this whole mutation aspect, and you know, it allowed us to see some really unique, very vibrant and interesting conceptual designs for these creatures. And along with that, I thought the effects were really on point. I am not a huge CGI person, but if it's done well, really well, I can appreciate it. And this was so well done. And I was even more impressed by the fact that this film was made for $30 million and the effects were literally top notch. All right, now I'm going to jump over to the cons. Not a lot of cons here, to be honest. First off, there is a central love story here. It is Love and Monsters. And I was fine with that aspect of the film, but I wish the resolution of that was a little bit different. There's something to be said about this film reflecting the hero's journey, and that journey reflecting a lot of self-discovery. And I appreciated where that left off initially, but then it's like we had to come in like, oh, but wait. And that last little piece, in my opinion, was not necessary. To me, it kind of undermined that piece of the story, that piece of self-discovery. It wasn't horrible. I get why that was there. But to me, adding that part at the end kind of detracted from that. I also feel like this film could have been just a little bit longer. This film caps out at 100 minutes, which is fine. It's short and sweet, and I can appreciate a film that doesn't just plod on and on and on. But I feel like there were opportunities to flesh out other aspects of the story in the film, including Joel's journey. That, to me, was one of the more compelling, if not the most compelling, aspects of the film. And although I don't think it was rushed, it resolves itself a little too quickly, and we come to the end of that a bit sooner than I thought we would. So I'm going to go ahead and give Love and Monsters a B+. I thought this film was a blast. It was such a pleasant surprise. It's unfortunate that this film was released last year, the year that I refer to as the Great Cinematic Massacre, and as a result, it wasn't given the chance to be appreciated by a wider audience. And I absolutely think that this is a film worth watching, and I wouldn't even have known about it. So thank you so much, Anthony, for putting me on to this. And thank you so much for the opportunity to collaborate. And once again, this is D, Movieman, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.
A big thanks to D Movieman for being here in this video, hopefully the first of many collabs, and I'm glad that this is a movie, as you said, kind of caught you off guard. It wasn't something that you were necessarily expecting to love as much as you did or enjoy as much as you did, and I loved hearing your breakdown of what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy. Overall, really happy to have you here on the channel. D Movieman has some great content over on his channel, and I highly recommend you guys go to the link down below in the description box, go give him some love, let him know I sent you. But for now, I'm gonna wrap this up and make it a quicker video by just letting you guys know that Love and Monsters, at least for me, where I found it, was on Hulu. I know that some people in some areas may find it on Netflix, not too sure, but this is a movie that I could see myself purchasing at some point, adding to my collection. I found it to have a really good message, again, in terms of, you know, living and not allowing yourself to be stuck behind a wall of fear, and not allowing that to kind of keep you in a safe bubble, which is something I've had to learn a lot in my adult years, you know, kind of breaking myself out of my comfort zone, which is part of why I ended up starting this channel and why I continue to do it. But beyond that, I also enjoyed the idea that not everything is what it seems. You know, there are creatures that Joel meets over the course of the movie who he learns a trick about them that makes him realize that not all of them are monsters. They may appear as monsters, they may appear as dangerous, but not all of these creatures are monsters. Not all of these creatures are out for blood, you know? So that's gonna be my thoughts on this movie. Thank you guys so much for joining us. D Movieman, again, you guys can find the link to his channel down below in the description box. Go give him some love, let him know I sent you. But for now, what can you guys do? Well, you can leave your comments on this movie, this video, whatever you want, and hit that like button because it helps the channel out. And I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.